70s and 80s Disney is an odd place. The Watcher in the Woods, the 1980 original film, not the miniseries from 2017, which is a heck of a lot easier to get a hold of. Disney seems to have buried this, which is odd because it is, kind of a cult classic, and I largely get why. This is... Okay, so how do I explain this to younger audiences? There was a period in the 70s into the 80s where Disney, mostly under its Buena Vista label, really tried to get into some more serious film making. Well, I say serious, seriously toned. Like Disney as a production house has always been serious about what it makes, but in terms of overall tone and stuff, this is what brought us things like The Black Hole and this, and also Something Wicked This Way Comes, which last I checked is actually finally on Disney Plus again. So might get to that one this month too. But this one they seem to have run away from. And I'm not entirely sure why, because I gotta be honest, it's pretty good. I don't want to oversell it. You do have to be prepared for, I know technically it's an 80s movie, 1980, but like the first year of a decade is effectively the last year of the previous decade. So for all intents and purposes, it has a very late 70s feel to it in terms of tone, shooting style, etc. That having been said, it's incredibly atmospheric. Honestly, a fair amount of the shots, especially shots like from inside the forest looking out, it kind of had an Evil Dead energy to it, like the original Evil Dead movie. Not the Deadites part of it, but like when you get the camera and it's like lurking in the woods, it kind of had that feel a little bit at times, which was interesting because this came out a year before the Evil Dead did. I don't know if Sam Raimi's ever cited it as an influence, but it had that kind of feeling and that atmosphere. The characters actually end up in the woods and there's just the right amount of fog, and yeah, it's a solid atmosphere. The other thing is, I don't know why I was expecting this. I was kind of expecting this to be a slow burn. It's not. It hits the ground running. It doesn't really stop. But at the same time, it's not exactly breakneck in its pacing. But I mean, like, I expected it to be a little while before unsettling or creepy stuff started happening. No, almost immediately it started happening. I was like, oh, okay, dang. Yeah, this 80-minute movie does not waste time, which good, I guess, given its runtime. I haven't really told you too much about it plot-wise. So this is based off a novel that I haven't read, and I actually can't even really find a particularly thorough synopsis of. So I don't know how well remembered that thing is. But this is the story of a family that moves to this large house in England. And there is a father, a mother, and two girls, one older and one younger. The older girl, Jan, and the younger girl, why can't I think of her name? Ellie. It was Ellie. Jan and Ellie. They both seem to have some kind of sort of very generalized and vague sort of psychic, if not abilities, a link to something going on. And part of what's interesting is like, it's not like one of them has some kind of psychic ties to whatever it is that's going on, whatever is in the woods watching them. And then the other one's like, I don't understand. Like, no, they actually seem to both have it, but it manifests in distinctly different ways. Ellie will kind of like go blank-faced and say or write things and not really remember having done that. Whereas Jan kind of gets a little bit premonitions, a little bit vision-y moments and sort of dreams like that. Although Ellie has at least one of those as well. It is interesting to see how that plays out. The big name star in this is Bette Davis, who plays a woman who has I guess a cottage on the grounds. Like she technically owns the house, but she like lives in a small cottage next to it as opposed to the big house which she rents to this family. And the general impression you get of her immediately is, oh, unsettling witch woman. Got it. Like that's a lot of the energy that is brought, but not so much by her performance. Her performance is, I mean, it's good, actually. A lot of times when you get to the golden age, legends of cinema at this point in their life, a lot of them were phoning it in. I know it's not polite to say, but it was kind of true. She wasn't. She put the work in, and it's not over the top either. It could have been, but a lot of the elements around her are over the top, and like the music and the shooting style is like doing enough to make you feel unsettled that she does not have to do as much. But it's not like all that other stuff is compensating for her phoning it in. Like, no, she is doing enough, and then gets boosted by these other things. It balances pretty well, and yeah, creepy stuff just starts happening. Jan will just kind of see lights or things in the woods. Ellie will get, these messages or say things and not remember saying them, and nobody really knows what it means. And things get sort of slowly tied together with the disappearance of Betty Davis's character's daughter from some time ago. And figuring out what happened then is going to be key to figuring out what's going on now. And see, like, I'm debating how spoilery to get. Because, like, on the one hand, I don't know how well watched at this point this movie is at this particular point in time. So part of me would be disinclined to talk spoilers. But then on the other hand, it's such a pain in the butt to get hold of in any fashion that it's not like you're just going to rush out and get to watch it if you haven't already seen it. So, I don't know. Spoiler warning, I suppose. Yeah. If you can get your hands on it legally, is my official strenuous point. If you can get hold of it, if you have a penchant for odd horror from kind of this era, it's a good thing to take in. And so now that we're getting into spoilers, it's aliens, sort of. Like, it's an alien / extra dimensional being sort of thing that, because of the solar eclipse that had happened when Karen, that's Betty Davis's, whose character's name I can't remember now, but her character's daughter vanished. And it was because when the eclipse happened and Karen and her friends, when they were young, were doing this sort of seance ritual thing at this old church, during the eclipse. Yeah, sure, that worked out great. Well, no, it didn't. What it did was it swapped places between Karen and this extra dimensional being. That being ended up here and is now effectively the Watcher in the woods, and Karen ended up somewhere else, effectively frozen and locked in time. And so the mission becomes to swap the two of them back. Now, the ending of this, I did look into this a little bit. The ending of this it's a little weird and a little rushed, partially because this is a reshot ending. There was a whole weird thing that went on with the ending where the original version basically was nonsensical. So pretty much all of the stuff that's going on here is done in camera, and you can tell. There's a truck that gets flipped that's decent. There's some dirt bike racing and crashes, and the various ways that things are shot, in the woods or whatnot. And anything that's an effect that's laid in after the fact is quite cheap, and you can tell it is. This thing was really rushed in post-production. And from what I saw, at least for a really stupid reason, which was they wanted in theaters for the 50th anniversary of Betty Davis's film debut. Like, who cares? So I guess the original problem was they did not give proper time for post-production, because what was supposed to happen at the ending was that Jan was going to go to this other dimension where this thing was from, and that's where a lot of the explanation was going to happen. But the studio did not give the post-production time to make it look good, so it looked like trash. So they cut it. But then what was left over didn't really explain what the heck was going on. And so the first screening of the thing, nobody understood the ending. It was nonsensical and you couldn't follow it. So they completely reshot the ending sometime later, doing something far more effects light. You can actually find the original ending on YouTube. I have looked at it, and that had a very different visualization of the Watcher. In the version that is now considered the finished version, it's just sort of a ball of light. That's kind of the thing they go for. Again, very cheap to do. They had a sort of insectoid skeletal creature. It was an impressive build. I'm not sure how well the effect worked, but trying to do reshoots with that thing would have been far more expensive. So when they did reshoots, they just scrapped that thing altogether and just did the light instead. But at the same time, for as kind of thrown together as the ending sort of is, I still kind of like it a little bit. I have a little bit of affection for that sort of that sort of 70s era of sci-fi where it was equal parts, sci-fi in terms of technology, but also like the sci-fi of the mind, Wrinkle in Time sort of stuff, where the idea of mind expansion and experiences across dimensions was as intrinsic to science fiction as the idea of rocket ships and lasers. And unfortunately, we've lost a lot of that as time has gone on, but I kind of have a soft spot for it. And this feels like it's dabbling in that a little bit. Although until you get the reveal that this is basically an interdimensional alien, it does play like a more traditional, sort of haunting kind of story. There's something in the woods. What is it? We don't know. It could be a ghost. It could be a witch. It could be a demon. It could be anything. Turns out it's an alien for all intents and purposes. I don't want to overpraise this, but I definitely see why it got a cult following. And I think it's a shame that Disney seems to want to bury this thing now. It's, that's a pity. I think, again, if you like this era of horror movies, it's not especially scary and it's definitely not bloody. So the horror is the atmosphere. It's the tension. It's that sort of gothic horror and horror of the forest kind of thing. And if you enjoy that, I think it's worth seeking out legally. See, don't get me in trouble. I'm telling people to get it legally if they can. Arr. Anyways, I had a good time with it. And I think this was a good time of year to watch it. The Watcher in the Woods. Have you seen this? What do you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, or if you've read the book, or if you've seen the, I think it was a made-for-TV remake from 2017, or whatever else. Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe. Those will help as well. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break.
Now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Subin Lutfulla, Andicate 808, Mara G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, The Baba Duchess, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Tracy Scrabbit, Pau Baraba Joggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. I also want to give my thanks to all the supporters who didn't get named, because you are all indeed very nifty people. You could be a nifty person too if you go support me on Patreon, and there's the clause. Ugh.